Hi, and welcome to another Crafts with Ash. My name's Ashley, and today I'm going to bring you 5 Dollar Tree Rustic DIYs. I want to welcome you if you are new, and please invite you to join our crafting community by subscribing to my YouTube channel, then hopping on over to Facebook and give me a like and follow, then jump on over to Instagram and follow me there. On my stories, I have a lot of behind the scenes and sneak peeks, so you definitely don't want to miss it. I'm so excited to share these DIYs with you, so let's jump right in. For this first DIY, you're going to need this Valentine sign with the 2 plaques on it and the metal hearts, and then this pack of burlap bags. The first thing I did was take off the hangers from the sign, and I'm only going to use one of the planks from the sign. Then I went ahead and sanded down any rough parts. The staples did leave a little bit of a hole, so I just sanded it down. Next, I painted my plaque with Waverly chalk paint in white. Now, I didn't really go for full coverage here. I just wanted to get the majority of it, but I was okay if some of the original brown was showing through. After my board dried, I took that other board and I just used it as a straight edge, and I just drew lines going across to make it look like shiplap. I'm not really measuring out my lines, I just kind of eyeballed it and went from there. Then I took my finger and I rubbed across the lines to kind of rub it in and to make it a little bit more mute. Next, to give it that rustic effect, I took my Waverly Antique Wax and a makeup sponge, and I dipped my sponge into the lid, dabbed some of it off on a plate, and then gently rubbed around the edges and the corners of my plaque. Now, I did, like I say, pay attention to the corners and the edges mostly, and then I went ahead and went into the middle. I turned my makeup sponge on its side and I went ahead and defined the lines that I had drawn on there. Next, I took my sanding sponge and I went ahead and sanded it down just a little bit to blend all my paints. Next, I took 2 of those burlap bags and I cut around the shape of the heart. Now, I did leave a little bit of the burlap around the red because I thought that it would be a little bit more rustic, and I made sure to cut out 2 of them, which actually equaled 4. Next, I took that same makeup sponge that had the Waverly Antique Wax on it, and I just lightly brushed around the edges of each of the hearts. Then I took my hearts and arranged them on the board how I liked it. I went red, natural, and I did overlap them too. After I laid them out, I went ahead and hot glued them all down. Next, I took these black block letters that I got from the Dollar Tree, and they're stickers, and I pulled out LOVE and put 1 letter on each heart. Then to seal my letters, I took some Mod Podge and I brushed that all over every heart. Next, I took my twine and starting from the back, I hot glued a little bit of it down on the end, and then I wrapped it around and around and around on each of my sides. It wasn't until this moment that I realized that those silver hearts were still on the back of my sign, so I just went ahead and plucked them right off. Now, don't get rid of stuff like this because you can always use them in other DIYs. In fact, I used one in my tiered tray DIY. I'll go ahead and link it at the end of this video. Finally, to make a hanger for my sign, I took some of this nautical rope and I cut a little piece off and hot glued it to my sign on the back. To make sure both ends of my nautical rope stayed down, I went ahead and cut off a little piece of the brown paper that I'm working on top of, and I put that down on each end just to give it a little bit more support. I think this little sign is the perfect addition to any rustic Valentine's home decor, and you don't even have to put a hanger on. It would be great to lean on a shelf, or you can display it on a table. Well, what do you think? For this next DIY, you're going to need this mini canvas that I got from the Dollar Tree. The first thing I did was rip off the plastic and then go ahead and tear all of the canvas part off. Now, to do this, I just kind of pulled really hard. I didn't really have a good tool next to me to use, so I just used my scissors and snipped a little bit and then pulled it until the entire thing was off. After it does come off, there are staples that are left in. You are more than welcome to pull those out, but I just decided to leave them in. They didn't really bother me. Once my canvas was completely pulled off, I went ahead and painted it with my Waverly chalk paint in white. As I was painting, I wanted to make sure to get all edges. I got the outsides and the insides too. Next, I took this sign from Dollar Tree that has all of these hanging hearts, and as you can see, I already used one on a previous DIY. And I went ahead and pulled off the bottom heart that said XOXO. I simply hot glued it to the back of this canvas, added a hanger, and that was it. My sign was finished. You definitely want to make sure that your heart is stuck on there by reinforcing it with some extra hot glue on the back. To make my hanger, I used some baker's twine that I actually got from Hobby Lobby, but they do have some at the Dollar Tree. And I just simply hot glued each end to the sides of my canvas. To make sure my baker's twine was on there, I went ahead and cut up a piece of a craft stick and hot glued it to the back. This little sign was inspired by something that I saw at Hobby Lobby. I didn't make it to look exactly like that one, but I really love how this came out. It's so simple, yet so cute. What do you think? For this next DIY, I used this glass candle holder plate, a candle holder stick, and I grabbed a necklace out of the 3-pack of heart necklaces from the Dollar Tree. The first thing I did was remove all the tags, then I gave each of these a few coats of Waverly chalk paint in white. After my pieces were completely dry, I went ahead and took a bottle of paint to prop up my plate, and then I simply hot glued the necklace around the rim of that plate. Then I took that candle holder stick and I hot glued it to the middle of the plate on the back. Now you should probably use E6000. I just didn't have any with me, and for video purposes I used hot glue, but I have to say it's held up pretty well. Finally, to add a little touch to the bottom, I did the same thing and I took that necklace and hot glued it around the bottom rim. Now, I wouldn't say this piece is completely rustic, but I really loved it after I made it and I had to find somewhere to put it, so to be quite honest, this is the video it landed in. But to make it rustic, you can always wipe some Waverly antique wax on it, you can sand it so the glass comes through, but still, I think this made for a perfect little display piece. What do you think? For my next DIY, you're going to need this little shadow box that I got from the Dollar Tree. I purposely picked this one because of the hearts around the sides. Now, when I saw this, I immediately thought it looked like an envelope, maybe from a Valentine. Now, I didn't know this, but I saw that Crafts by Caitlin also did something like this. Ours look a little bit different, but props to her. Great minds think alike, I guess. The first thing I did was pop off that heart that was on top and then give the front of this box a coat of Waverly white chalk paint. Next, I took that heart and I painted it in Waverly white chalk paint too, and then after that dried, I painted it in pink parfait from Apple Barrel. Next, to make this look a little bit more rustic, I took my sanding sponge and I sanded the edges of my box. To remove some of the paint that got inside those little slats, I took a little knife and a craft stick and just kind of pushed it back and forth just to open them up. After my box was sanded down, I went ahead and took that heart and did the same thing. Now I really paid attention to the edges because you can see as I keep sanding, the white is coming through. Next, I took these little red letters that I got from the Dollar Tree, and these are stickers, and I spelled out SWAC. Remember that? Sealed with a kiss. Once all my letters were down, I kind of decided it was a little too dark, like too red. So I took that same sponge brush that my white Waverly chalk paint was on, and I just lightly coated over the letters. Then I wiped it out, sanded it down. I really was just trying to mute it a lot. Next, I went ahead and hot glued it to the top of that box. Now you want to make sure to hot glue the heart in the right direction, because at first I didn't, but if you look at the sides, the hearts are going down from your view, and so I had to turn it. So just make sure you hot glue it in the right direction. As I was looking at it, I just still did not like the red, so I ended up taking my white paint marker and I just traced over each of the letters, and this helped so much. I feel like that really added to the look that I was going for. What do you think? For this next DIY, I used this banner that I found in the party section at the Dollar Tree, and then this 12-pack of red felt hearts. I went ahead and took the banner out of the package and I lined them all up. There are 5 different banners. Then I took the felt hearts and I hot glued one of the felt hearts on each of the banner pieces. Next, I took these foam picks that spell out love that I got out of a package, and they also had 2 hearts that I am going to be using as well. And I hot glued each of the letters on each of the banner pieces. And then those little hearts, I also glued down each of the banner pieces as well. Now, I had every intention of making this sign a little bit more rustic, but as I was doing it, I just really loved it how it was. I just didn't want to take away from the pretty colors, and if you know me, you know that I love the reds and the pinks of Valentine's Day, so I was okay with how this came out. So I guess you could say this one isn't really rustic either, but I still really wanted to share it. After all of my pieces were glued down, I went ahead and took that baker's twine that came with that banner sign, and I put a little hot glue on the end and twisted it with my fingers. That way it was easier to loop through. Then I went ahead and started looping my banner pieces through. Now, I actually decided right on the spot that I was going to add some beads. So I took these wooden beads that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I took the middle size. And I grabbed a red piece and a pink piece, and then I also add a pearl. So I did pink, pearl, red in the middle of each of my banner pieces. I apologize, my camera keeps moving. Someone had her little feet on the camera stand and I did not realize it until I saw the camera really move. So I'm sorry it's a little jerky. But I did want to mention, when you go to put the banner pieces on the string, you want to move backwards. So I did heart, E, V, O, L, heart. So you want to go ahead and move backwards. I think this little banner is so cute. It definitely came out better than I thought it would. And it's the perfect addition over my hot cocoa / coffee bar. Now that's not exactly done yet, but here's a little sneak peek. What do you think? For my last DIY, and if you're still with me, I want to say thank you so much. It was a long video, so I commend you. So for this last one, I started off with this canvas board from the Dollar Tree. I went ahead and took off the plastic, then using the same method I did before, I just ripped the canvas off by snipping a little bit here and there and pulling really hard. Again, I left those staples in there because they just really didn't bug me, but I made sure that it was cleaned off completely. After I got all the canvas off my board, I went ahead and took a baby wipe and dipped it into some of that antique wax and just rubbed it all around the frame. I went on the insides and the outsides as well. I didn't worry about the back though. This makes for a really great stain. Now, I made something like this on a Facebook Live that I did last week, and it got so many likes on Instagram, at least for me, that I thought I would kind of make something like it here now. So if you haven't done so already, please jump on Facebook and give my page, Crafts with Ash, DIY and Decor, a like and a follow, and then you can watch us do some live crafting on there as well. We have a lot of fun. We have a great crafting community, and I even have a Crafts with Ash group that you can post all of your creations on. I love seeing what everybody makes. Once my frame was all stained, I took these jumbo craft sticks that I got from Walmart and I lined them up on the, well, I used the front, but really you want to line them up on the back. That's where you're going to glue it. But I guess for this, it doesn't matter. But you just want to line them up just to figure out how many you're going to need. Now, I ended up using 8 here. So once they were all lined up, I took a marker and I just kind of marked where I would need to cut them down to fit my board. Obviously, I want to get rid of the curved part. So I cut one down and then I put it back on to make sure that that was a good size. And then I used that to cut all of the other pieces down. Once all of my pieces were cut down to size, I took my Waverly chalk paint in ivory and I lightly brushed that all over each of my sticks. Now, I was not going for full coverage here because this piece is going to be really rustic, and so I really wanted that natural wood to come through. So I just used my foam brush and just lightly brushed over each one of those sticks. Next, I took my Waverly Antique Wax and a makeup sponge, and I dipped my sponge into the lid and then dabbed it off on the paper, and then lightly brushed over each of the sticks with the wax. Now, again, I'm going for rustic, and I'm distressing these, so I'm just really paying attention to the edges and the corners. That way, it brings out that antique look. After that, I took my sanding sponge and just sanded each one of the sticks down. Then I took that sanding sponge and I also sanded the frame down as well. Now I actually used a brand new sponge on this. That way it was fine and it really sanded it a lot. That way the natural wood came through. After that, I flipped over my frame and I lined up all of my wood sticks to the back. Now, the first ones went all the way to the end, so you want to make sure to line these up before you hot glue them, because when I made it last week, I of course had one that hung over just a little bit, so I made sure to be extra careful this time. Once you have them all lined up and fit on that frame, you're going to start hot gluing them down. Now the best way I found to do this was to hot glue the first one down first, then take the next two off, put a strand of hot glue on each, the top and the bottom, and then put the sticks back down and then just keep going. But please pay attention to the other end to make sure that it hasn't scooted over or it's not hanging off the side. Once all of my pieces were glued down, I flipped it over and I had this awesome rustic frame. And it looked like shiplap in the back, and I love that look. Next, I took this greeting card, or a Valentine's Day card, that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it looks like a love banner, and I just kind of took it apart. It was really easy. I just slipped the string out of the open of it, the inside of it, and then I just took the banner off. Then this next part, I just kind of played a little bit with it. I just wanted to decide where exactly to put it. Once I decided where I wanted it to go, I took the strings and I wanted it to look like it was coming from the corners. So I just put a little hot glue in each of the corners and then pushed the string in to make it stick. Now I also used a craft stick to help me do this. But then I remembered that I finally found one of those makeup, I don't know, rubber pushy things. I think it's like a face mask applicator or something. I don't really know, but I remembered that I had it, so I grabbed it so that way I could finally use it on this project. I was looking at every Dollar Tree for that, and I finally came across one, so I was excited to use it. To complete this sign, I took these foam heart stickers that I got from the Dollar Tree and just kind of randomly put them in different spots, switching up the colors. Now, I didn't have to hot glue these down. These were very sticky, so that worked on its own. But I think that this added just a really cute touch. I feel like this is a good combination between rustic meets cute Valentines with the bright colors but yet the dull background. I don't know, this is just my favorite look for this holiday, and this is probably one of my favorite pieces in this video. What do you think? I think all of these DIYs are kind of cute, like I said, and rustic, and I really had a lot of fun creating all of these. This is the second to last Valentine's Day video of this year, and I'm really sad because I just love these colors, but I'm also looking forward to creating spring decor and regular all year round decor, and then of course my favorite, we're going to be getting into fall, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So I hope that you enjoyed all of these. You're going to have to let me know down in the comments which one your favorite piece was, and if you are decorated for Valentine's Day yet. As you saw earlier, I started on my hot cocoa / coffee bar. It's not quite finished, but I'm sure that I'll show pictures on my Instagram and Facebook. Which reminds me, if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that little notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. Also, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps to grow my channel. Then hop on over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me there. I always do behind the scenes and it's a lot of fun. And don't forget about my little crafting community and my live crafting tutorials on Facebook. They're a lot of fun. So until we see each other again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!